Welcome to the Superintendent's Hangout, where we discuss topics in education, charter schools, life in general, and not necessarily in that order. I'm your host, Dr. Sciarretta. Come on in and hang out. This episode is brought to you by E&E Financial Services through a generous donation to the Eric C. Mitchell Scholarship Fund. Are you tired of financial advisors who are more interested in pushing their products than understanding your unique financial needs? Then it's time to talk to E&E Financial Services. Founded by industry veteran Eric Sams, E&E prioritizes educating and empowering clients to make informed financial decisions they can truly understand and feel confident in. E&E believes in guiding you through the process of achieving your financial goals while providing unbiased, independent advice. Whether you need help with financial planning, portfolio management, or estate planning, E&E has got you covered. Let E&E guide your path to financial success. Visit them online at enefinancial.com or by calling 619-487-9638. This announcement is intended for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice. The content of this advertisement does not consider your individual investment objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional financial advice. Investment advisory services offered through Access Wealth Management, LLC. Securities offered through Exton Financial, LLC. Member FINRA, SIPC, MSRB. E&E Financial Services, Inc., Exton Financial, LLC, nor Access Wealth Management, LLC are affiliated. In this episode, I sat down with Eryn Holt, a.k.a. Frau Holt. The reason for that title will become clear when you listen to this episode. Eryn and I talked about a range of topics, including how she got into education. I should say how she slipped or accidentally fell into education, how rewarding the journey has been for her, what elements of teaching and learning have changed over her 20-plus year career, and what elements remain the same. I hope you find this conversation with Eryn as inspirational as I did. Welcome, Eryn. Actually, I should say welcome, Frau Holt. Thanks for coming in this afternoon and hanging out for a little bit.
My pleasure.
Could you start out by telling us your origin story, where you're from, what you've done in your life, and what brings you to the present moment at Albert Einstein Academies, but just as importantly in Frau Holt's life in general?
So it started back in Pennsylvania, where I was born. And the high school that we went to, or that I went to, served all the small towns around, so it was huge. And because of that, we had exchange students come. And they were like aliens, but I was fascinated by these aliens because they showed me, I think, a little glimpse of something outside of the small town deal that we were, that I was used to. So I became friends with them, and at the end of their stay, I thought, I'm going to go be one of them, but over in their country.
Did you know which country, or just
in general? Germany and Spain.
Okay.
So there were Spanish.
So you had Spanish and German aliens.
Yep. Yes. And I loved them. And of course, one was the German guy was kind of cute, so I thought, well, that'd be nice. And then the Spanish girls were just so kind and just a whole different breed. So I, almost at the end of the year, I was telling my dad that I was going to go home to Spain with them, go to their home. And he said, well, if you want to try, I don't know, it's kind of late in the, you have to apply and all that. But he said, if you can make it happen, we'll do it. So I applied and got accepted, but not to Spain because it was too late. But I got to have my second choice, which was Germany. And I chose Germany because my dad and his family lived over there in, quite a while, in 1966. And my grandparents were both teachers. And so they went over to teach for the Army. They weren't Army people, but they taught for the base. And so he would always say a German word every now and then. And I thought, well, it's a connection. I'll go. But really nothing more than that. And I went and I never wanted to come back. So that was my love for German started in high school, and I didn't want to come back, but my parents made me. And then I finished high school, and then in college I studied international business, which is just business with a language, because I wanted to keep the hold of the German. And after I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I thought I should join my dad's company, because that's that I always was so proud of what he had created, and I thought,
what line of work is that?
Construction.
Construction. You could speak German in the construction company.
And so I tried that for a little bit, but I just realized I needed to go explore in a different way. So I ended up getting a job in Germany with a friend that was working at a marketing company, and it was they were about to have a merger with it was a call center. His division was the call center, and they were going to take over a call center in Texas. So she told him about me, and he thought, oh, she speaks English. She can be the liaison between our call center and the one in Texas, but live in Germany. So we got hired. That never happened. The merger never went through, but I was working for a really great the company was great. They just didn't need me. So after 6 months, they let me go, and my boss was really nice. He's like, I'm so sorry. And I said, that's okay. We'll just see what else we can find. And he's like, what? You're not going home? I said, no. Do you know what it took for me to get here? Pennsylvania. Well, by this point, I guess I kind of skipped college and all that stuff, but I did go back a couple times in college. So I was living in San Diego at this point. I went to San Diego State. So when we moved over there and got let go after 6 months, he helped me get another job. So we ended up staying for another 2 years. That being said, the day came and we moved back to San Diego, and I did not have a job, but we had a house that we needed to pay for suddenly. And I got a very strange phone call from Albert Einstein Academies asking if I wanted to come in for an interview. And I was like, I am not a teacher. And they said, oh, no. We got your number from someone on the East Coast that we were trying to recruit to come out here. But he said, thank you. I live in Long Island, and I'm not moving to San Diego, but I do know somebody who lives in San Diego and speaks German.
What, were you part of the secret underground German network or something? Or?
No, but he was a teacher, and He knew John, my husband, in Germany, and they taught at a language school.
Got it.
So, so Albert Einstein Academies called and said, come on in for an interview. And I was just kind of shaking my head, like, why would I even go in for an interview, except for the fact that I needed to get out of the house because it was really depressing, not knowing what my future was going to hold. So I went in, and there was Lucy Fowers, and we agreed on that day that we were both looking for a sign. She was looking desperately for a teacher because there weren't any that spoke German. And I was looking for a sign of, what am I going to do even tomorrow? So we gave it a shot. And I couldn't believe I was being paid to have so much fun with the kids. Now, at that time, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right. That was pre-credential, pre-everything.
That was, I was just like, good old me. Yeah, no, nothing.
2001, 2003.
2003. And so I thought it was great, and we had so much fun, and I loved the kids, and I was, at that time, working with Mr. H and Mrs. Gottbaum, who has not been with us for a while, but two amazing teachers that I just thought, okay. I just looked to see what they were doing, and I just copied it and did it in German. And, 1 year turned into two, and two turned into... Oh, Lucy told me that year, she said, well, you've got a year to figure it out if you like this. And so after that, I thought, yeah, I like this. I love this. I love the kids. I love everything about it. But my emergency credential was running out. That was the only.
It was having an emergency.
It was having an emergency. And I really didn't feel like going back to school. But if I ever wanted to be paid as a teacher and not a helper.
Because you were at that point like a classroom assistant.
Yeah. So the 2 credentialed teachers always had to be in the room with me.
Right.
So here we are. And then I decided I need to go back, and I got my credential and I got my master. I was listening to Frau Claudia and I was like, oh yeah, I know those days. I had a child. I was pregnant with my second one. I was working full time and I had to go back and get my credential. And then I was like, well, if I'm here, I might as well get my master's, because I know how it goes to, it doesn't work when you're like, I'll go back. No,
Right.
we're just doing it.
Once you're under the hood, you might as well
Let's
do
just
all
do
the
it.
repairs.
Yep. So that was the deal. That's how we got here.
Wow, it's interesting how these seminal moments in our lives, they're big sea changes, and we never really plan it thoroughly, and that's the exciting part too.
Yeah.
That saying that life's what happens while you're making plans. So clearly you weren't making that kind of a plan, and life happened. And
no, this was not. In fact, they said, be a teacher. I was like, oh, what? A teacher? I'm not a teacher. I should be doing this or that. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is a profession. It's a very special profession. I mean, I think people look at it as, they just don't understand it. If you don't have the experience, you have no idea what it means and what is involved in actually, doing a good job.
Right.
I mean, I think there are lots of teachers.
Right.
But
some of them, like you, some of them are in the profession and stay in the profession for the right reasons. And some of them maybe get in for the right reasons, but don't always stay for all the right reasons. And June, July, and August have an impact on
September.
Some people's decisions.
So does September.
And it's an interesting place we are in education right now nationally, because the job market's so tight.
Yeah.
Every state is having real challenges hiring qualified teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And that ebbs and flows, obviously. But I'm also concerned for the profession, that we may need to think of things a little differently if we're going to attract the top teachers just to our schools, and the top talent that can be trained and grow into the jobs. So you're in your 20th year. Good little stretch. How has your work changed and evolved over time in your profession, and what elements have remained the same from when you started?
Well, like I just described, when I first started, I had we were surviving.
Hopefully
at
that
point.
has evolved.
That has evolved. And that's where I started from, just jumping in the water, but then learning the strokes as you're in the water. Because each year, first we didn't have the IB part of it really full force until maybe the second or third year in there. And then it became the process, it was every year it was more and adding on and adding on. And so I've thought of this many times as like being pregnant. I don't know how I would start today in our organization,
right,
because
I've thought
so
that before too myself.
Demanding. So you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I've sat in interviews and gone, I'm glad I'm not interviewing today.
My belly here at Albert Einstein grew slowly over the years. I didn't just have an enormous, 20-pounder from one day to the next. Hi, you're hired, and can't carry the load. So I feel very fortunate to have grown. I mean, there are other parts that go along with that. We've had a lot of interesting times along the way too, when the good old days. But I lost my train of thought.
Just what has
changed.
What's changed and then what's
same.
remained the same.
So I've learned a lot, obviously, and I've become more intentional in my teaching. But what has stayed the same and that I think doesn't ever change are the kids. And that has been a tricky part, because when I didn't have the intention, I got to just be with them. I feel like I really got to see the whole part of them. I wasn't carrying in my backpack, but we have to do, we did all this. So I'm not sure myself how it's all evolved, but it has gotten harder to do everything, to feel like I'm still doing a good job. Because if I am pushing, there's finding the balance. It really is just finding the balance in between meeting and being with the kids where they are and knowing that you have to do X, Y, Z because it's the curriculum or it's the program or this is on the schedule. So, we're talking, I'm getting older, so I'm finding more permission to make those decisions and say, okay, if I can't see that this child is with me right now, I am not going to force my program. Just because I have this slideshow that it's in my plan for today, I'm going to stop, we're going to reconnect and see where we need to go from there. Because the tug of war that comes when we're not aware, when we're dysregulated because of I call it my bad idea friend. We have a good idea friend, and we have a bad idea friend, and the bad idea friend says, you've got to get this done. You need to do this, this, and this. But lucky for me, the reason, it's why I don't ever leave kindergarten, because they come in smarter than I am, and they leave even smarter than I am. So I get to, I think in this grade, it is so special because I know I can cover what I need to with them. And that allows me to do what I really enjoy doing, and that is being with them and seeing who they are, setting the foundation for what the next years are going to be, making sure that to the best of my abilities, and I'm not trying to play higher powers, but that they enjoy school. I did not like school.
No.
At all.
I'm glad you brought that up about knowing when is the right time to pump the brakes. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like that saying of, you need to learn all the rules and really internalize them and before you start to consciously break them.
Yeah.
And intentionally
Yes.
pause on the rules.
Yes, you better not, yeah.
Because what you described is very different from giving up on students.
Oh.
It's actually the opposite.
Oh, it's completely
it's the opposite. But I think that's the tension, right, in teaching. Is you see with a lot of new teachers, you have that, you're full of, I'll just say it, piss and vinegar in the beginning. Here's the standards.
Yeah.
We're going to do this,
Yeah.
and this is what I was told to do, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And if you never deviate from that, eventually you'll flame out. You'll burn out.
Totally.
The question is to get to the point where, on the human level, you can pause and reconnect as a human being to the students before you reattach to your slideshow for the day. I think what happens probably too often is people do the former. They get to the point and then they go, screw this. The kids can't learn it. It's too much.
Yeah.
So I'm either going to leave the profession altogether, which is actually better than sticking in it, but not reconnecting at the human level and just saying, I'm just going to short time it.
Which is really just a shame, because maybe you have a great teacher that just didn't understand that there is flexibility. You know, in Frau Claudia's podcast, you guys were talking about that they are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I do feel like at our school, I feel like each classroom you are your own boss. You get to figure out how you want to teach it. You know the expectations, but how you deliver it is individualized. And even in kindergarten, we all have such different styles. And if somebody had to do it my way or I had to do it we wouldn't be as effective. So this really allows us to hone our own, what fulfills us as teachers to meet the kids where they are. But if you don't have that sense of balance and understanding of what is important, why are we here? I am not, the content is not my love affair. The kids are. And so
I may put that in your intro. That's because I've seen, you would never say this, but I've seen it pick up and drop off how the kids and the family swarm to you. So they know it. The kids know it. They're 5 years old and they don't even know their parents' names, but they know that they are your number one priority.
Then I've done then for me, this is yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Before we turned on the microphones, you talked about the challenges of the last several years. May or may not be related to COVID, may or may not be related to the same challenge that you and I face, that every human faces, which is father time. But you said to me, things are harder. What did you mean by that?
Well, things are changing. Kids are changing, and this is life. This is what I'm also learning. We all change. In the last 3-4 years, we've come out of COVID. Every year for the last 3 to 3 years has been different. It's been like every one of us is a new teacher again. And those are some of the most exhausting years. So when you've already put your time in, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. I don't know this. But, even in COVID, I don't look back at that and say, oh, that was the worst time of my life. I learned so much. It was so hard. And even John was saying, oh my gosh, I think you're working harder in COVID than you've ever worked in a normal year, because we had to create everything. Right. We went from nothing to everything. And I think the skills that we learned are amazing. So I've got some new skills in my back pocket. Okay, but now it's just the compounding energy. And I've never run a marathon, but I think you have some experience. Yeah. If you were to run marathon after marathon after marathon, your body's just going to give out.
Yeah, it breaks down.
So there has to be the fulfilling time again, the downtime, the repair.
The massage. The
massage time. And in between those years, we have not had any, I have not felt a massage time. In fact, in my world, one of those years, half of our team was out on maternity leave. So that felt even harder. And that doesn't mean that that everybody didn't give their best. It's just different. So that being said, here we are. So we're creeping back into what has been the most normal, quote unquote, time. Not everybody's wearing masks. People are allowed on campus. And what I'm noticing is it's either the kids or me. And I'm open. And I'm open to it being both of us.
Yeah. That's a great statement.
And I think it's easy to say, oh, the kids. Yeah. But I'm too old now to say that. I know better. Right. And that's not fair, and it's not telling the truth. It's not telling the whole truth. So I'm different. And what is becoming more and more and more and more important to me, even though it always has been, is first and foremost to see the kids. And this year, we have 24 kids in the class. And I would say a large portion of them need extra.
They've never been in a school setting.
Whether they have or they I don't think this is even really, I think just the world is changing. And there are more iPads. There's more immediate gratification. Parents are coming out of a tired time. I know this because I am a parent. I'm tired. And a lot of times I have to check myself that I'm giving my tolerance and my patience during the 8 hours at work, and I go home and my family gets nada.
Right.
They are stripped of any of my good mood, and I say, because yes, that's how. Where at school I'm like, well,
open the microwave.
Let's talk about this. Yeah, do it. You do it. So I feel like electronics, as wonderful as it is, I see that there's a lot of entertaining. I mean, I've always been a dog and pony show. I've always been of the opinion that if we can make this fun, we can see that it is fun. School is fun. But that includes using your whole body. It's a lot of exaggerated entertainment. But it's fun. And it makes it fun for me too. But now I'm recognizing that is not enough. And I don't have any answers. But what I'm open to is that I need to start doing things yet again differently. And this should not be a surprise. Just like everybody's, aren't you kind of bored in kindergarten? Haven't you done? No. Every year is like a new year. And I am only realizing now, why is every year? Oh, because the kids are different. Although we have the same curriculum and don't you know how to teach that by now? Okay, but you can't teach the same every year. And if you are, I don't know what that means. That's just not my experience with 5-year-olds. There are some things and there's some there's some ways that you can just do things like you always do, but it's like siblings. You can't expect one to come in and the next one to be. They all have different personalities. And this year is a different personality. Last year, it was a different personality. But it's becoming more and more, I don't know how to adjust it to our program. Because there is so much. And I am the German teacher. And through COVID, we spoke actually very little German because we just, have kids on a Zoom call and let's see what you can do. They're not interested in learning German. I mean, they're just want. I mean, so again, there were creative ways. And through that, we did a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, a lot of movement, a lot of games, but this is all good stuff, So I'm thinking, okay, so bring that back in. But the way I have to teach German is evolving for me because I am also, if nobody's looking at me, I'm not going to keep talking. I'm not just going to keep plowing through because that will wear me down too. And if nobody's listening, who am I actually doing it for? To check it off on a list, to say, I taught it, I did it. But if nobody's getting it, that feels like cheating to me. And I'm just at a place now where I'm saying, okay, what do they need? Not what do I need for my lesson plan, but what do the kids need? And that's a long time in it's taken me 20 years to get there because there was a time where I would have just kept on going.
Right.
I would have just done to do because this was my job and I take it very seriously and I don't want to get in trouble or, not do my job and just call it, that's not my job. This is my job. But my job is to be with the kids. My job is to meet the kids where they are, not where I want them to be. And that is a real challenge because we have a very diverse family. I have 2 classes that are amazing, and I am often at a loss for how to manage not only them, but myself. Because it's so much at one time, and these are humans, that the more I learn about our own kind of traumas that we carry along with us, the majority of them happen in elementary school.
Yeah.
They extend into middle and high school, but they happen right now with us. So I have these little golden nuggets that I could make or break in a hot second. And that is so dangerous for people who don't understand the power that they have. And when I say I don't want it to be it's
a sacred responsibility.
It is a gift that you shall not take for granted. And I think a lot of people don't know what they have, and therefore it's not intentional. But when you're depleted because you don't know how to manage yourself, it is easy. Last year, I snapped at a little sweet thing. And, well, she wasn't listening. And she should have been. And she knew better, for crying out loud. And I said, what? You should know what to do. Or I don't even remember what I said. All I know is how I felt afterwards. And I called her outside with me afterwards, and I sat her down. And I'm giggling because it's awkward. But I said, that was not okay. The way I spoke to you was not okay. Now, I happen to know in her family, she has a lot of brothers. A lot of stress is put on. Like, she takes it, she empath kind of stuff where she takes it on. She feels responsible. And I thought, I have a chance to make this better right now. So I called her over and I said, I am so sorry. I snapped at you. I was in a bad mood. I needed to manage myself. And I snapped at you. And I could have said it in so many other ways. I could have, no doubt, it was not thought out on my part. It was a reaction. And I said something like, I don't even know. I don't think I asked her for forgiveness. I think I said, can you forgive me for that? And she wraps her arms around my neck and said, of course. I don't even know if it meant, the experience meant something to her. I know in that moment, at least in my imagination, I saw the look in her eyes but I'm sure it was probably magnified because I'm so aware of it right now. But the experience is what I was going for. And that is that she sees that people can make mistakes and still go back and look them in the eyes and ask for forgiveness and recognize that we all make mistakes. And no, it wasn't the end of the world, but it was my chance to make it better with her. And she also, this is what I love about kindergarten, is that they are they're still so forgiving. But year by year, right, the less attention that one is given to who they are and what they're feeling, the further they get from that forgiveness. So tying this all back together, our classroom is a family. We refer to each other as a family. You don't have to you don't have to be best friends, but you do need to respect each other, take care of each other. And this is what we build on. So although I see us as a community, I can't help but see each individual need. And for me, because it's not just 24, I have 48 kids. And I can't just turn it off and say, okay, this week this week that. It's an overwhelming caseload from my eyes and how I process their energy and my energy and what they really need versus just getting them to learn the letters, which the academics is actually, in my opinion, the easy part. When they're ready, they will be able to do it. It's how do they get ready? And when I had 4 kids come in this morning, they're like, I'm so tired. And it's so tempting. Come on, sit up. We can do that. Let's talk them out of being tired. It doesn't work.
Try to talk yourself out of being tired.
You can't. But why do we think it's okay as teachers to tell them to, come on, you got to do this? And so these are my challenges. And it's very messy this year for me because I'm trying a lot of things, and some people I'm sure look like, they see what I'm doing. Well, I can tell you, right before spring break was a very hard time for me because I saw a need. We're all spread very thinly, and so I try to solve a lot of my own problems. And I knew the right thing to do was to keep the kids with me at recess because they were not safe. They were not being safe. They were not making good decisions. They were coming back from recess, and I was trying to solve. I couldn't solve all of the problems that came back from recess. So I kept them with me, and I was just exhausted, depleted after 2 weeks of this. And I kind of stopped caring. I mean, you might not, okay, people have different levels of caring. So somebody might say, yeah, okay, well, when you stop caring, you're still at like 95%. No, I was, and not just about school, and I didn't stop caring about kids, but I lost my desire. I lost my energy. I lost everything. And it was a great learning experience because I do have a hard time asking for help. And I do have a hard time knowing just boundaries, because I want to give so much. I lost my own boundary. And so with a lot of support and help and reaching out, we figured it out, came up with a plan. But I'm trying so many different things. I'm giving so much, and then I'm not giving anything. And so I'm swinging all over the place. But at the end of the day, I still say to myself, this is their experience. And how am I adding to it? Or how am I not? So I don't know how to tie this into anything, but I'm going to pause right there.
First of all, I really appreciate your candor. I think, and especially your humility to realize that it's never entirely a student issue, even when at first blush it might seem like it is. I think if more educators could adopt some of your perspective on what happens when a student's misbehaving, whatever those rules are that they're quote unquote breaking. And that story of you taking a student outside of the classroom, but then having the humility to apologize and work through that with the kid. In some way, that student will remember that forever, even if she doesn't maybe consciously yet, but that she'll carry that with her. I think where it gets potentially damaging is when we as educators, when our ego is in between. So because we're the quote unquote professional or the credentialed person, and this is our room, this is our classroom, so damn it, these are the rules, and you violated them, and you knew better, and don't talk back to me. And so if I had $1 for every time I saw that over my career, and in my early years, I was party to it as well. And there was nothing in the structure, and I've mentioned this I think in some other communication, there was nothing in the structure of the school and schools where I've worked that naturally counteracted that among colleagues. So you of your own volition went and apologized to that student. But I would hope that in a perfect setting, if a colleague saw you speaking to a kid that way, they would come and say something to you. But you and I know that seldom happens. They might go and whisper it to someone else. They may go and speak to an administrator, but they're not going to come to you. And that's something that is really kind of food for thought when we talk about, because when you were talking about kindergarten and the traumas that happen, I was flashing back to memories that I have of school. I can remember kindergarten. I can remember my teacher. I'm sure she's no longer with us. I can remember what my symbol was for the coat rack in kindergarten. It was a beehive because I couldn't read yet.
Yeah.
And we all had different little drawn symbols. And I remember it was a beehive, and years later I found out that she gave me a beehive because I had such a bad temper. That the whole stinging thing. But I remember how kind the kindergarten teachers were. And I also remember kindergarten, first grade, second grade teachers who weren't kind. And I know their names too. I had a teacher throw me up against a tree because I was running in a hallway or something like that. And so...
And you knew better. This is the problem.
I was also a super energetic, 8-year-old.
But what I mean by that is kids fundamentally want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So if they're running down the hallway, the question is, be curious. Like, what is it? Right. Super energetic. I've got a handful of those too.
That's me.
And we're running laps. I'm asking, what does your body need?
Yeah.
Because to force someone to sit in a chair that they're not comfortable in. And this is, I think, the hardest thing is when you don't have, when you've never experienced it, you can't relate to that. And so you think they must know better, and it's not up here. Yeah. It's a feeling. But if we don't at least have an awareness, I know this is not everybody's jam, but if there at least is an awareness that fundamentally kids do want to be loved, they want to be heard, most of all, they want to be accepted. So I'm not saying it's right, and I tell kids myself, walking, but coming at it because, just from stop running. When I see that, I am also curious about the people who are saying it. Because I know when I'm tired, when I feel overwhelmed, I have less tolerance. And I need you.
And you're an adult.
To be better. Exactly. Well, and this is what I'm saying. These for the teachers who are sometimes having maybe short tempers or I expect. My first question is like, sounds like they're really tired.
Yeah. Because
that's what I do when I get really tired. So I think a lot of this goes back to balance in our own life, understanding yourself. Like we have to figure out some of our own stuff personally. And again, this is, maybe somebody will say, oh, that's you. This is me. I need to figure out my own, who am I? What do I believe in? Who do I want to be when I come to school every day? And I don't know, I'm still learning. My 93-year-old grandmother says, if you don't think you're learning anymore or you think you've got anything figured out, you're wrong. Because you'll die.
You're probably dead if you
You're
think
dead if you think that yes, exactly. So I have actually a lot of empathy for teachers too, because I don't like it if I see something like that, but I can empathize and I can say, okay, but we all need some help here.
I'm going to pause there and we'll probably circle back, but I thank you for your candor. And all I can say is that I wish more teachers were like you. What's your philosophy? It's somewhat connected, actually, to what we just talked about. What's your philosophy for managing student discipline or behavior? And how would a visitor to your classroom know that you were abiding by your philosophy?
Well, gosh, I wish there was just a simple answer because I'm thinking about so
no
many
simple
different
answers on this podcast.
No, if there is something going on, first I need to check myself because behaviors trigger. So if I'm trying to do my job and teach, and these behaviors are going on, and I'm not checking myself, I could get very caught up in that. You're taking me away from what I am doing now, and this is what we're doing. So first thing is my discipline policy for the kids is that I try to be aware, what am I feeling right now? Because I don't want that to get carried away. And it's very easy for the ego to kick in there. Oh, yeah? Well, let me show you.
Who's got a bigger desk? Well, you got a bigger desk than any kid. You got a bigger desk than all your kids' desks put together.
So, each one is we have some basic classroom rules, but I have so many different, but you wouldn't even, I don't even know that you'd know what was going on because there are kids kind of there are so many needs. One thing doesn't fit everybody. We've got noodle breaks. If they need to go take a run, put a noodle in the jar. We have cards that are flipped over that if they need to go do something, okay, we have kids at the back table who need these breaks. And I really do question, I'm open to this too, that am I doing too much? Am I opening a box of too much attention? Actually, I really do wonder that sometimes because I don't think it's not sustainable for the amount of kids that we have in a class and then in two classes. What I am doing is not sustainable, and I know that.
You mean it's not sustainable for you, or it's not easily replicated for someone else to copy? Both. Because they're all like improv. They start out like, it's the art of teaching.
It is. And being like what you need is so different from what that person needs. And then you have all the kids that are just like ready to go, and they're going like, well, shoot, man, I want to do that too. Like, I know, but you're also different. And so a lot of times I just tell myself, you're doing the best you know how to. And what will they leave with? They will know that I am trying to meet them where they are and not feel shamed because they can't concentrate or they can't move their body or they can't remember because they're not really even ready to be in kindergarten. It's complicated. And the more I think about it, the more confused I get.
The part where the way you started the answer was to talk about checking yourself. And that's, for me, fascinating. It's a little bit like that story. I don't know if it really happened, but it's a good story about where a woman in India brought her son to Gandhi and said, hey, you got to tell my kid to stop eating sugar. All he eats all day is sugar. He's just gorging himself on sugar. He's going to get diabetes and all this stuff. And Gandhi said, come back in 1 year. And she's like, what do you mean? My kid's going to be dead. Come back in 1 year. So a year goes by. She brings the kid back to Gandhi. Okay, I've waited a whole year. He's still eating tons of sugar. And then Gandhi says, son, you need to stop eating sugar. It's going to give you diabetes. But hey, you mean, Mahatma, you couldn't have told him that a year ago? And he said, no, I needed to quit eating sugar before I could tell your son to.
Yeah.
Right? It's about knowing ourselves, and that's the hardest part. There's no credentialing program that teaches you that.
No. And I think that is what's missing, is more education on the part of just the human side. We're so focused on all of this academics. The academics, it's math or it's this, and you have special classes that you need to take for this and that and this and that. But the part of, first of all, I think we as teachers should have to do some therapy before, so that we're coming in, over in Vietnam, I don't know if this is true or not, but in Vietnam, I think it's in Vietnam, the men, before they marry, they take a year in silence. And they work on clearing their minds so that they don't bring their their own traumas into their new families. And so...
And the women,
I'm not sure about the women. It's just the men.
I'm going to stay away from that conversation, but
I can't remember.
But
I'm
I
going to
get
look
the
it
point,
up.
though.
The point
it's the mental
that
preparation.
if it's important for them.
Right.
That they say, this is my family. It's kind of, it's a little, maybe even kind of macho. Like, this is my family.
Right.
I want to make sure I am bringing, this could actually make the females look really bad, if they're not willing to do that too, because we all have it. It's not like men or women. But I think the awareness to say, okay, I am, and this is that special power, not that, what were we saying? I called it a power, and you said responsibility.
Yeah, responsibility.
How can we be there for kids if we really don't even know how to be there for ourselves? And I think a lot of people think they're fine. I question that. So anyway, again, my journey, and I am looking to see how can I bring my best foot forward, because they are so delicate. They are so delicate.
So you mentioned academics a couple times. You mentioned this idea of getting in trouble, curriculum, checking things off boxes. And now we have TK, transitional kindergarten, universally in California, to the point where they're predicting that it will essentially, if not entirely put them out of business, at least really impact private daycares, right? Because people spend, other than their mortgage or their rent, that's the number, number two biggest expense in a family. And so it makes sense that they'd be happy to have their kids enrolled in a free program at age 4.
Yeah.
That having been said, how do we balance, or how do you think about balancing the academic imperatives that come with state standards, even though kindergarten's not mandatory in California? Neither is TK, by the way. Like, legally, it's not a mandated grade level. So how do you balance the academic pressures, whether they're socially imposed or professionally imposed, with your feelings about the social emotional needs of kids, their needs to play, to run, to fall down and skin their knees and learn about that process? Like, how do you, as a veteran kindergarten teacher who has really mastered the art and the science, and the reason I know you've mastered it is because you don't think you've mastered it. You're just constantly, you're reflecting, and every year is new. And I think if you came in here and said, yeah, I got my system down every year, I just cruise right now, I've been doing this for 20 years, that's the opposite of mastery. So how do you think about that? And do you ever have a dark crisis of the soul where you go, oh my God, I wish I didn't need to teach these, what a preposition is in kindergarten. I'm not sure they do that, but
I think that TK is wonderful to have, especially getting, just into the school family and seeing what it's like to be part of that bigger group. For me, again, social emotional is number one. And if you are meeting someone where they're at, the academics come. They want to learn. I think that it's because we're trying to force reading. So, not we, the country, not our school, but it's this idea that everybody's going to be behind, and it's all this comparing and not seeing, well, okay, that's all very nice, but where is your child in this? It's too competitive. It's too, I got to be better, and we're losing trust. I think we don't understand anymore how to trust life, trust the process, actually. And so, I fall in and out of it. If I hear, oh, geez, I better be doing some more. I want my kids to be able to read too. So it's so easy to fall into that. But the more comfortable I think humans feel the easier they have it to learn. There must be some literature on this that is proven that when you feel good, you learn better. And for me, 5-year-olds, well, okay, let me tell you a little story. When my kids were little, I went to Frau Claudia and I said, oh my God, everybody's playing the piano. They're just never going to learn how to, should I get them to play the piano? You know, it's like they're 5 and everybody's doing it. And she said, well, does he want to? Is he excited about it? I said, no, he said nothing, but should I do it? And she said, okay, so here's the deal. A kindergartner who starts playing the piano and a 3rd grader both start at the exact same time. Or not the exact same time, but you can start in kindergarten and play until 3rd grade, or you can be in 3rd grade and start playing. They will, within this much time, be at the exact same spot because the 3rd grader is ready. Their fingers are longer. They have a longer attention span. So I kind of see it in that same regard. I don't think there's a rush to do anything in kindergarten except feel safe, play, solve problems, share, learn how to listen, learn how to look at somebody when they're talking. Like, you know, it's that time where they're so crazy in their own minds. That is a full-time job. Oh, I'm speaking. That makes me the speaker. And what are you? Oh, the listener. Yeah. And now you're the speaker. And that makes me what? Oh, the listener. Yes. Right. Let's try that again for the 10th time in 2 minutes. So those kinds of things, when that takes so much time, how can you really teach when they don't even know how to listen? So first you have to get their attention. So if somebody is not ready to have their attention because they're, you know, off in la la land, because that's where they are right now, how is that all supposed to happen in a classroom of 24 where, again, half have some sort of need that can pop up at any time, multiple, all over, you know, that's just like bing, 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 bing. Whew. So I think there are kids that are ready. I think there are a lot of kids that are ready to go. They're either the firstborn or they're the lastborn and they've seen all their other siblings and they're there. And so again, I don't know, it's more that I see it as not so black and white. It's not just this. You know, we've talked a lot about student agency. We talk about the universal design for learning, where there can be different things set up for different people who need different motivations. But not to jam one thing down that idea into somebody's space where it just becomes overwhelming. Or the other one who's like, I know how to listen. Why did you just have to say that again? You know, so what do I think about this is that we're doing the best we know how to right now with what we've got. And I try lots of different things, but at the end, it does leave me a little confused.
Would kindergarten, if you could wave a magic wand, would kindergarten be 90% play?
Yes. With modifications. Because there are some kids who they're just driven differently. And it doesn't mean that they don't want to play, but any kid that I've seen that came in very academically strong, given the chance to play, will play. They want to. I don't believe a 5-year-old by nature wants to sit down and, write a letter. I've had some. Books. She would write a book report. I would read it. I'm like, thank you for telling me about this book that you read.
What do you say to the people or the pressures that come back to the argument of, we need to make sure that our kids are reading in kindergarten because we're trying to make up for gaps in society between the haves and the have-nots, and that earlier academic exposure is going to be our only salvation?
Well, so when I say play, I see it just differently. We learn the sounds. Kids love to sing it, dance it, but removing the pressure and making it more playful. It's just play-based. Because 5-year-olds just think differently. They don't think like with an adult brain or even a 10-year-old brain. The more playful you can make things, and this is what I've seen through COVID times, last year, the year before, and even this year, the more fun I can make it. In fact, we have 4th grade reading buddies, and they were saying, oh, I just missed kindergarten. I'm like, ooh, tell me everything. Why? What do you miss? What stands out for you? Because I want to know. Because if they can tell me what made it good, that's what I can keep doing or whatever. And they said it was just fun.
Nap time.
You know, they come back and they hate it while it's going on. Right. But they do. They're like, remember quiet time? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, remember how I tried to convince you? You can't convince. And so we don't, now it's called quiet time. Right. It's called breathe. I tell them they need to shut their brains off, just like we shut the computer off, and just be. Their bodies, you should watch them. They can't shut their bodies off. And that is not normal.
I think that...
And I don't want to say it's not normal. A body needs to be at rest.
And I think that as you mentioned before, screens and technology
Yes.
in our lives,
Yes.
that I was out to dinner recently, and there's a family next to me, and there's 3 young, 12, 10, and 8-year-old kids, all on tablets. Both the parents are on their phones. I'm like, why don't you save $150 and just order in and stay home, and everybody go in their own room and watch TV?
Yeah.
And I have a sinking feeling because I spent a lot of time in classrooms and in different schools and around the state, and the prevalence of screens is amazing. And I often think, what would happen if we were to just shut off the internet access for one day?
It would be
so 20 years ago when you started, and 30 years ago when I started, it was either a chalkboard or then a whiteboard. Whiteboard was like the cool technology, right? And so now internet access is synonymous with the basic tool for teaching. Mm-hmm. It's the way that a whiteboard or chalkboard was 20, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So an interesting exercise to think about, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, even down into kindergarten, even in TK.
Totally.
Right? The screens, and we know what it does for students in terms of being an electronic babysitter.
Yeah.
And so I worry about that. I worry about that as a generation. I worry about it at Einstein with students and knowing how much screen time students have. Anytime I walk into a classroom and I see a bunch of laptops open and a teacher kind of chilling on the side, they could be chilling on the side for the right reasons or getting ready to go and offer input. Or they could just be going, oh, thank God, this IXL or this brain pop is going to take about 28 minutes. And, it doesn't make me popular to think that or say that, but you and I know it happens.
Oh, for sure. And today I pulled out a book and I was, holding it, and they're like, Frau Holt, could you put that under the visualizer so we can see that a little bit better? I was like, oh, geez, thank you. Oh, yeah, isn't that nice? But you've kind of inspired me to have we really don't use electronics. I mean, I use the Promethean board and my computer, but in kindergarten, we don't do a lot on iPads, and we've kind of chosen to do that. There are times, very specific and intentional times that we use it. So this may or may not be very effective. But just to say, guess what? Today we're going to do it like long ago. And we do have an IB unit where everything was damals. So it's easy to do it then. But to just get into the regular habit of, I don't know, I can't Google it. I don't know. No, we can't read the book on the visualizer. We're going to sit in a circle, because we're also losing those times too of just how we used to come together when it wasn't able to be on this big, huge TV screen. We would sit closer together. Okay, through COVID, that kind of like it still feels a little awkward. Oh, are we allowed?
Right.
You know, are we back on the floor?
Who's got the sniffles?
Yeah, exactly. But that would be maybe something really great even for the upper grades to just say, no electronic day today. Let's just see how it feels. And I bet everyone would have a hard time with that. We're becoming not even set up for it anymore.
That's right. We're not configured in our layout, physically, classrooms, the tech backbone.
Books.
I think mentally we're not, and this is not a scientific observation of mine, but it's something I feel that, and there are a bunch of books now and articles on that. A really good one is called Shallow by a New York Times tech editor who reflects on how his access to technology, this book's probably already 10 years old. And even back then, he said it was changing the way that he was reading. He was unable to read long form books anymore. He'd go on vacation, he'd take 5 electronic devices with him. And that was way before the iPhone at the quality it is now. Steve Jobs didn't let his kids have iPhones or iPads. It's an interesting tension, right? My daughter attended a Waldorf school in her elementary grades. She spoke about it on this podcast, and they have a really strict anti-technology policy, especially in the lower grades, and to the point where they discourage families from watching TV at home. Now, that's a hard thing to enforce. I think it may go too far the other direction, then it becomes a forbidden fruit.
Right.
Then one kid mentions a movie and the other kids bully him for watching the movie. But there's this piece in there about an appreciation for beauty, for wonder, for the permanence of things like artwork that is not just something that you get to just delete or it's saved in your hard drive. And I mean, I was reflecting the other day even on photographs. I have 52,000 photographs on my iPhone in the cloud. And when's the last time I printed one? A long damn time ago. But I remember what it used to be like to take a photograph, take the film in, get it developed, and wait for that experience and then treasure that photo in a real analog way. I think we've lost that. That appreciation for art, that appreciation for slowing down. When everything's got to be instant and screens, and I can see it in staff meetings. I have to tell people in staff meetings, I'm going to wait till this is a tech-free 30 minutes right here. Otherwise, this is how I take notes. Okay, it's okay, and I understand that we all process things differently, but that's a barrier then between the two of us. Even today, if I were reading these questions off a screen, it's a different dynamic in our conversation.
There's a great book called The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate.
Okay, we'll have to put that in the show notes.
And I'm just starting it now, but it just goes into talking about how we say it's normal. You were talking about your daughter in Waldorf and 5. There's an appropriate time to introduce these things, like phones. 5 is not, in my opinion, the appropriate time. They don't know what to do with it. Their brains are processing at a different speed. So, yes, it does become the forbidden fruit, but it also teaches them you don't just get it because everybody has it, because it's normal. At Christmas time, it especially stood out to me. We're at the malls walking around, and kids in strollers, babies, have phones. And it's not a judgment, it's an observation. And I am a person who then gets these children who are not interested in actually listening to what I have to say. I just become the person who puts the slide on the screen so that they're entertained, so that they're interested in learning. And this is why I think it's so important to have the connection, to have the kids need to want to come to school to see people, to see their friends, to see their teachers, to see, to go to their PE and art and music because of the people and not because they're going to see something entertaining on a screen. So if I don't take the time to make that environment, they're bored. And I've plenty who know that word, and we're working with it. And I'm letting them know that it is okay to be bored. And what that actually means is that maybe you're not interested. Maybe you need to go take a break, so it's really helping them understand, what does this even mean for me? But it is triggering.
I have a theory about AI, the chat GPT.
Oh yeah, you were talking to somebody about that. I had to look up all the initials.
So it's not coming. It's here. It's been here for a long time. Yeah. Even when the little chat bot pops up and you're ordering something, that's an early form of it. But it's really powerful, and it's becoming more and more powerful every day. It's learning, and schools are, especially at upper grades, where they're submitting written assignments or anything done at home, or even in school, if they have technology there, you have to question what the role of AI was. My theory is that the schools that emphasize asking questions that involve a humanity and critical thinking at a deep human level are going to be the ones that prevail and really have value added for our kids. The ones that don't are just going to be constantly wondering if students used AI for their assignments. And because I've played around with it a lot, and of course it's in its infancy and it keeps growing, but for basic things, it's thorough, it's got unlimited recall. You can ask it to tell you how many states in the nation have rivers of over 500 miles in them, and instantly. So any test or any essay that asks that question, that's not deep thinking. That's just legwork to go find the answers. But if we pivot and make schools the place where people come for the human interaction, I think that's our only hope. I mean, you've got AI taking the MCAT right now to get kids into medical school. It passed it. Taking the LSAT for law school. It's completing MBA level exams and getting A's and B's. And it's technically not plagiarism. It's just machine learning that gets better every second as it's used all around the world. It's a really interesting thing to think about, the role of technology. And obviously we can't shut the door and never have it, because it's coming. New York City schools tried to ban it, or they claim they banned it. I think that's ridiculous. But how do we
balance?
How do we balance, and how do we make it so that the school is the place you come where you're welcomed, where it's a warm environment, it's a loving environment, and not just all about compliance. I learned to read halfway through my second grade year. And I went from not reading to reading the entire Laura Ingalls Wilder Little House on the Prairie. I know by the end of my second grade year, when the teacher would be, I can't even remember what we were doing, like arts and crafts, they'd say, David Victor, I need to step out of the classroom. In those days, you could just leave your kids alone, I guess. I need to step out. Would you read to the group? And then she'd hand me the book, and I was reading out loud. Yeah. Because it was the right time.
It was the right time.
It was the right time for me.
And you were interested.
I was interested, and I just took off, and I've never stopped.
And what a different feeling that is than having to keep practicing this because you can't get it. Right. And we think we're helping. Oh, come on, let's go practice more. But you just see that's just not quite there yet. Right. But having play with, let's just say, letters on it, that is more intentional for play. But the goal is to expose. The goal is to foster this lifelong learning that we talk about, and not feel like there's a deadline, and the deadline's the end of the year. Well, and we have to get you there because this is what's next. It's
like the Einstein tagline, teaching our children today to advance our shared humanity tomorrow. That's a long range. That's a life thing. That's a goal that's going to outlive us. We'll be pushing up daisies while that thing's still paying dividends. Yep. and to really stop and say, what does shared humanity really
does it even mean?
That I have a higher Lexile level than you do?
Right.
Or vice versa?
Yeah.
If they'd done that to me in first grade, my Lexile level was a 0. So you've been very generous with your time. I have 2 more questions for you, and then a last one that's a fun one. What advice would you give to college students or other young people who are considering becoming kindergarten teachers?
Volunteer first. Make sure that you really, really, really
volunteer in May.
Co-volunteer. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, at schools, just make sure that you know what you're getting into. Because people think it's just, I don't know what people think it is. It's so much more than I think anyone, for me, again, I'm not speaking universal truth. I'm speaking my own truth. So maybe I'm the wrong person to give that. Volunteer and just really get a feel. Do you feel the love? Do you feel like energized? Do you feel so excited? I think one of your questions that I did look over was what motivates me. The kids do. Yeah. The kids motivate me. I don't want to come to school in the morning, but I know that once I'm here, I just need to get here. Because once I see them, it's over. I got this. Because they're happy to be, we motivate each other. And, I'll be writing a book. Everything I learned by teaching kindergarten.
Ah, look at that.
They teach me. I need them. Probably more than they actually need me. They're way smarter than I am.
And they have not been jaded.
No.
And they've not been told to tell half-truths.
No.
And they inherently know things like what algebraic thinking really is. And then we teach it out of them systematically as time goes by over the years.
And they know what they're feeling. But we try and talk them out of it.
That's right.
Oh, no, you're not sad. No. Let's get through this. It's okay to be sad. Go ahead. I tell them, like, go ahead. Go feel your feelings. Go do what you need to do. We have a corner. They know what to do. They can take the time. And I think it'll probably be well, I don't know what it will be, but I don't know that many more times in their life, they will be told that it's okay and not have somebody try to fix it, make it better. Because my high dream is for me to learn this myself and be able to do it with my own kids. I can do it wonderfully with other people's kids, but set me loose on my own kids. I'm like, I'll fix it. I'll do this. What can we do? But
you mean your own biological kids?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you a plumber with a leaky faucet?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm a carpenter with a half-built house. But for them to understand that those are the most important things, called feelings. And it's learning how to manage them is where the money is.
Yeah, I think Picasso said that when he was a child, he drew like a child, and then he spent his whole life trying to learn how to draw like a child again. And when he learned, then he became famous.
Yeah.
He went through this whole stage of drawing and making it look realistic and all the different phases and you can watch it in the progression of his career. And then when he got really famous was when he started drawing like a kindergartner.
How he really felt it.
And how he saw the world spontaneously.
Yes. And that was his truth. And when you can tap into your truth, you become whole.
I'm going to put that in your intro too. I think we've got a couple nuggets coming out of today. What are you most proud of in your career?
What you described. Kids feeling comfortable and wanting to knowing not comfortable, they feel loved. And I get frustrated, but we talk about it. Oh, I cry. Oh, gosh, I'm crying now, but I also cried a couple weeks ago. Oh, my gosh, it was a rainy day. And the kids were wild, out of control, and didn't know where to go. And it was so exciting. There's rain coming down and all this stuff. And I looked around and I thought, oh, I have no control over these humans. And if we had an emergency, this would be so frightening because I would have nothing. So we marched back up to the classroom and I sat down and I just started crying. And they looked at me and they're like, well, one little girl said, Frau Holt, when I see you crying, I want to cry. I'm going to cry too. And I said, it's okay to cry. I'm crying and it is okay to cry. And so I cried. And of course, just saying that made me kind of dry up and get to the next step. But they were so, if you've ever felt the love from students, and I don't think they have to be 5, because actually a 5th grader, one of our school psych interns said, she came to me and she said, I just want to share with you that one of the kids that she was spending a lot of time with said, he mentioned me. He said, one of the only people who really understood me was Frau Holt. I did not understand him. I just listened to him.
Right.
I didn't understand because I'm not in his body. But what I understood was that he was having a hard time and that he felt different. And that's what I'm most proud of, are the connections.
Thank you for that. We were joking prior whether we were going to make it through without you getting emotional, but I think it's appropriate because that's who you are as an educator. So I appreciate your candor. I wish I had Kleenex in here.
That's
I don't.
Okay.
You can use that
t-shirt.
swag T-shirt.
Come on,
if you
I have
need.
kindergarten
You can
boogers all over my.
Okay. So, and I know you cheated and you listened to another episode where I asked the guest this, but if you had the chance to design a billboard that people would see for a few seconds driving by on the freeway and they're distracted and you catch their attention for 2 to 3 seconds, and it's Frau Holt's billboard to the world about teaching and just your life, what you've learned and what you have still to give back. What does that billboard say?
I had a really good one and I forgot it.
See, that's what you get for.
I know that serves me right, because I went through a couple. I had a couple good ones, but then I came up with the best one, and that's the one I forgot. It's usually how it works. Well, one of my favorite sayings that I'm trying to live, actually, is life by the inch is a cinch. Life by the yard is hard. And I think it's so relevant to all of the things that we're so busy trying to accomplish and do and be, and it feels so overwhelming, and we've never had more people with anxiety and depression and committing suicide and, just not knowing how to manage themselves. And so to become present, stay present, live life by the inch, not by the yard. Something like that, where it's just slow down. And don't try to eat the whole sandwich in one bite. Become mindful. Slow it down. And sometimes it's just getting through a minute, an hour. Sometimes I think, okay, just get through the next hour. Stay present for the next, because that takes you to the next. And then you have more power. You did it by not becoming overwhelmed with everything that you can't control. Oh, maybe I'd make another one, something about learning control. Yeah, well, I'll stick with that one.
Stick with that one. Thank you. That's a good place to end. Live life by the inch. It's a cinch. Live life by the yard.
Not by the yard.
Not by the yard.
It's too hard.
It's too hard. Thank you so much, Eryn. I really appreciated today, and I want to underline how much I respect your 2 decades in teaching, and I really wanted to have you on because I can see how much the kids feel the love that you have for them. So that, I think, says it all. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Superintendent's Hangout. You can follow me on Twitter at DVS1970. Please be sure to share this show with friends and family on social media and in the real world. Thank you to Brad Bacayal for editing and production assistance, and to Tina Royster for scheduling and logistics. Thanks for hanging out, and have a great day.